All right, everyone. So we have a very interesting quote from Emil Paglaruo, the longtime design director at Bethesda Game Studios. And I might have mispronounced his last name. I'm sorry, but we're reading here from comicbook.com. A quote: I would be happy with a game that is as successful as the previous Fallout games that continues to give fans what they love. Give them a story that they can get into and systems that they love and really just experience that they play not for 20 hours and not for 100 hours, but as an experience that they could play for 200, 300, 600 hours, because that's the kind of games we make. So this quote was interesting to me, and I saw it first on social media. A lot of people were, not putting out his exact quote, but that it was said, right, and kind of paraphrasing what he said. And I think one of the reasons that it really caught my eye is because if you watch this channel, you know this, I've been really jumping on the bandwagon of, I think, way too many games in modern gaming do too much of, we want to expand out the playtime of a certain game. We want to make a game as long as possible instead of just delivering an experience that fans actually want. And I brought up the example of the RoboCop games, if you played them, the more recent ones, where those games now, I mean, they have a new game plus and other stuff, but those games give you a pretty, short by comparison story, but everything about it is so fun that it makes you want to go back and play it again, right? It's about, they could have done what a lot of games in their situation does, or in their shoes does, where they add in all of this filler stuff that nobody wants to do just to extend out the game time. But obviously with this quote, it's a little bit different because Fallout is not trying to do that, right? Fallout is a game that, since I've only played 3 and on, but since Fallout 3, yeah, this is the type of game, going in, you could put in hours and hours and hours. So I can't quite use, even though I'm like, my gut instinct is always like, tell people, hey, listen, you're making a game, make a great game. You don't need it to be 1,000 hours. But with Fallout, it's a little bit different, right? I guess the point is that I understand that the Fallout series is not trying to do that. This is just what the Fallout game, the type of game it is, right? And back in the day, that's what we used to have, right? We used to have a few games that did the, hey, you could play this thing for 600 hours. Then you had other games that were just, hey, you play X amount of times, you might want to play it through again, at a later date, but it was a set in stone, 15-hour game. And I love a lot of the bit of that. So my hope here is that when they do make Fallout 5, they lean into exactly what we had with Fallout 3, with Fallout New Vegas, and a lot of these Fallout games. And that's very simply, you don't need to say, hey, we're going to make it X amount of hours. There is so much to do in these games. There are so many things to try out. There are so many reasons to replay the story, even after you've already beaten it. There are so many different paths you could take, different weapons to use, different unlocks, different decisions. You don't need to extend it out, right? Just let it live in itself. If you make a good Fallout game, 600 hours will be easy. And then you add in the fact that on PC, you have all the modders and all of that. If they're going to allow for all of the modding stuff to happen, you can easily get in a situation where these games are being played, for 600 hours by a lot of people. So I guess at the end of the day, that's kind of what I'm hitting at is, just please, 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 first order of business has to be making a great Fallout experience. And if that great Fallout experience, if at the end of the day you think, oh man, this thing only gets us to like 300 hours of playtime, right? That's 300 hours is probably what we're looking at. Then that's fine. Then that's fine. I understand the want to deliver as much as possible, right? Look, you spend X amount on a game, you want to get that in return. But think about a game like Suicide Squad, right? Think about when that game came out. That game has a lot to it that can extend its play cycle, right? Like there is a lot of reasons I could still be playing that game to this day. And I was actually in the minority of, I liked that game. I had fun playing that game. I understood all the critiques of it, and all the critiques are correct, but I had fun, right? So it's a bad game that you had fun with. But that's the type of game that, instead of just trying to make a great superhero game, instead of just trying to make the best version of that game, they tried to follow trends. They tried to extend the game for as long as possible with all of these different things, instead of just making the game that people wanted. If they had just made a great Superman, well, he could have been one of them, right? But a great superhero game that was 20 hours and that was it, people would have probably loved it, right? But instead, they said, no, we want to do a looter shooter. We want to have all of these challenges here and challenges there. Fallout doesn't need that. Look, obviously Fallout's going to have a level of that because that's the type of game Fallout is. But if it's only 300 hours that you feel like you can get, then that's good enough, right? I just I just get very nervous, and it's like it's almost one of those things where I'm overcorrecting. I just get very nervous because in maybe it's the way maybe I'm in the minority on this in terms of actually most people don't feel this way, but for me, it's just like I play so many games in the modern day that I'm like, "Ah, this didn't have to be this long." Like you could have cut out like 75% of this game and I would have like been like, this is an A+ game. But because you made me sit through 75% of things I don't want to do, it's like, I don't know, right? That really hurts the experience to me. Like I would rather play 10 hours of what I want to play than play 20 hours of a game that only has 10 hours of stuff that's actually worth being in the game, right? And I think there's a ton of instances where the like in a game like Fallout, it's one of those things that before I buy it, I know I'm not going to be like. Here's an example, right? When I bought Mafia Old Country, right? The whole thing was like, I want to get from point A to point B as soon as possible. I want to see the story through. I want to, if I like it or don't like it, whatever that ends up being, but I want to see the story through and I want to be done, right? And maybe I go back in 6 months or a year and play it again, but I don't want to be sitting there, wasting my time on things. It did its job in that sense. In Fallout, I know going in that like actually what I want to do in Fallout is find weapons, loot all these different areas, talk to all these people, maybe do something stupid and have to like go to an old save file because I messed up a city or something like that. Whatever it is, right? That's what you want to do. That's the appeal of Fallout. So obviously that's going to lend itself to longer play times, but still give us that without over expanding it, right? Don't do this thing where it's like, well, we only have a game that's 300 or 400 hours worth of playtime here. And obviously, it's not 400 hours to beat the story, but you're just talking like with everything else that comes with it. But oh, maybe we add some filler quests or make you walk further than you would have and not have like make it so that when the times when you're playing, you never want to be in that moment where you're like, I got to go back here again. Like this was one of the things from the Mafia games I played on the PC, not Old Country, but like Mafia 1 and Mafia 2. And it's funny because these obviously aren't modern games, right? But there were so many instances in that game where I was sitting there going, man, I gotta drive to the mission, and I love the Mafia games, by the way. I'm just pointing out these are the things that irritate me. It's like, okay, I gotta drive to the mission, then we got to drive back somewhere. Then I have to drop off, like you got to do the mission, right? Then I had to drop off the person I'm in the car with at their place, and then I have to go back to my place to end the mission. It's like, dude, I kind of just like the story here. I just want to do the mission and get to the next mission, right? And if I feel like doing things in the world, I'll do that before starting the mission. But the fact that you have to do like all of the things that people don't want to do in actual real life, right? Like running errands, you were forced to do. I don't want that in Fallout 5, right? I don't want those type of quests. And you can have them if you want, right? If they really want, have them as side quests, fine. But make it so that whatever the story is, right? Whatever that main story is, just have it be the best, however long hours of the game and don't extend it just to extend it. People in a game like Fallout, even if you only gave them a game that you think, okay, this is like probably the people that are obsessed with it will get like 400, 500 hours of it. They'll find a way to get 1,000, right? They will just continue to play it, do different things. There's different challenges, there's different weapons, there's different parts of the story you could get. So I wanted to bring you guys this quote because I think it's very telling about how they're doing and thinking about Fallout 5. And a quote like this, when I do play Fallout 5, is going to be in the front of my brain, right? It's going to be sitting right there as I'm either going to say, man, they nailed it. They made the exact Fallout game people wanted. Or I'm going to be looking back on this and go, you know what? That quote was a sign that they were going to make a Fallout game that has a lot of these quests, a lot of these things that people just don't want to do, right? And if there's, like I said, if there's side quests, fine, don't care. I don't have to do them, right? But if that main story is just being prolonged with things that don't matter, I think that really is going to affect how much people like it, right? People play games for 600 hours that are good games, not because this is, before we go, I'll bring up another point. This is one of the reasons you see the decline in series like Call of Duty in the multiplayer, because instead of giving, like, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, World at War, the first Black Ops, those Call of Duty games, when you compare weapon customization, when you compare no battle passes, when you compare everything about the newer versions, right? There is more going for Black Ops 7 than those games. Yet, people put way more hours into those games than Black Ops 7. So you didn't have a battle pass, you didn't have the gunsmith in the same way, right? You had certain things, but nowhere near the gunsmith. You didn't have any of these things that you have now. You didn't have all of the different playlists and all of that. You had a very standard online gameplay. And yet, people got more out of that experience and played for more hours than this one, because one of them is built off, let's make a great Call of Duty game. Let's make a game that's fun. Let's make a game that people actually want. And the other side of it, the other one, is not. That one is made off of, what study did we do to see how we can extend player retention? And of course, you end up failing with it. So, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.